Hey, everybody. Welcome to Decipher the Media. This is the podcast where we talk about all things in the field of digital media. This is episode number 5 with Shay Francis and Lindsey Donley. The two specialize in the field of special effects and makeup. So I got the chance to sit down with them and really discuss how they got started in special effects, and also their experience of going to school for special effects and specifically working at the Tom Savini School, where they work on a lot of makeup special effects. Then we talked about the projects that they took on after they came out of school in both the fields of theater and film. And then talked a little bit about the comparisons between film and theater and how the process is different for each. And then overall, we got a chance to really discuss how they're working in a growing indie film community and how they're growing with the community. I've had a chance to work with them many times in the past, and hopefully I will have a chance to work with them many times in the future. So without further ado, here is Decipher the Media, episode number 5 with Shay Francis and Lindsey Donley. Enjoy.
When's the new Deadpool movie coming out? Isn't that soon?
I have no idea.
I feel like that's soon.
Look at all the rain.
Or did it already come out? I missed it.
No, it's not out yet. I don't think. I think I would have known if it was out. It's like February, or I guess it's past February at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely past February.
The last one came out in February. It was like
Yeah, it was
came out
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Cam's got me hooked on the superhero stuff now.
I've been on a action movie kick.
Cool.
Walt really likes action movies.
Do you watch a lot of Netflix? Do you watch a lot of Netflix?
Yeah.
Have you seen Into the Badlands yet?
I watched like the first episode of it.
It's good.
And I couldn't decide if I liked it. I don't know.
It's like kung fu. There's a lot of blood, like special effects.
I don't know if I could get into the story, but maybe I just need to watch more.
Yeah. Try a couple more episodes before you.
You need to watch that Santa Clarita Diet.
Yeah.
You need to watch it. It's so gory, but so funny.
Yeah, I heard that's pretty good.
It's like everything I love.
Have you watched Stranger Things?
Yeah, I've seen.
Is it good? Should I watch it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Because everyone's hyped about it.
I like it. I like the costuming because it's like really accurate to the 80s. And the soundtrack's awesome because it's really accurate too. And like the like aspect of like what's kind of happening is when you find out it's kind of weird, but it's still good. The main creature is digital.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But there is a lot of practical in it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really lives up to like that nostalgia effect and like 80s movies and
Yeah, you feel like you're in the 80s when you're watching it. And I like that kind of stuff. Like, take me back. Make me feel like, I mean, not that I was in the 80s, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Let me feel it.
I really love the soundtrack for Stranger Things.
Me too. The score, the soundtrack, it's all good.
Or like, what I really liked is when they did like a trailer for Stranger Things this second season, and they did like it to like the Thriller theme, and I thought it was just the coolest thing ever.
That is cool.
And just, we're already recording, by the way.
Oh, hey.
Not to.
I figured.
So this is Decipher the Media, again, for anyone who doesn't know. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm Lindsey Donley. I'm an artist.
Yeah, and I'm Shay Francis, and me too.
And specifically, what kind of art do you do?
Special effects makeup.
Yeah, we do all the bloody stuff. We make things all gory.
Blood and guts, zombies. That's us.
Awesome. So, I thought it'd be really cool to do something with, like, since you guys specialize in special effects and all that. Where did you get started with that? Like, how did you get into that?
Ooh. Oh, okay. Well, I've always loved movies in general. Like, I guess when you're a kid, you kind of start picking your hobbies, and mine was to watch movies and to craft. I used to do all those little kids kind of crafty things, and I really loved them, and I realized that, so I kind of put the two together, and that turns into special effects. And I also, when I was in, like, elementary school and, middle school and everything, all the way up through, I did theater. And I also did cosmetology school, and so did Lindsey. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of just got into it through theater and the love of movies and loving to craft, and did cosmetology, and I just kind of was like, cool, I'm going to take all these things and put it into one, and that's special effects.
Cool.
That is true.
And how about you?
I've always been creative, and like dating back, I found this in a craft box. I was a very lonely child. I was weird. So I didn't have very many friends. And so I had made like a miniature scale house for these clay people. Okay, this is like middle school. I was lonely. I had these little clay people. I made like a miniature like living room, a kitchen. Like, it was so cool. But now looking back on it, I see that creativeness, like where it all came from. And I went to cosmetology school, and when I was in school, I was a part of a club called The Future Is Mine. And they had a conference every year in Pittsburgh, and when we went to the conference, they sent us out to different businesses so we could get a feel for like what the real life is, I guess. And they sent me to a mold making studio called Spectre Studios. And it's a special effects makeup place where they make like creature suits and masks, Halloween masks, all kind of stuff. And they gave us each our own mask to paint, and they showed us the molding process, and I immediately fell in love, and I was like, this is so cool. I need to learn how to do this.
Cool.
Mind blown.
Yes. I was like, I want to make something like that. Like, creature hair. I want like blood. I want like, monster faces, and it's fun.
What school did you guys go to?
We went to the Tom Savini Special Makeup Effects.
Okay, I kind of figured. I thought you said that at some point.
Yeah,
before.
we did. That's where we met.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where this friendship began, was inside those walls.
Yeah, I've known a couple people. I think someone who actually worked on the movie I did, Body Farm, was also from the Tom Savini School. That's part of what's the Douglas. That's what I was. Which is funny, actually. I was thinking about that today because I was at the Steel City Con.
Oh, I thought today was the last day for that.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to work.
And they had a booth set up for the Douglas thing, and like they had like a video playing with. Do they do something with like that Face Off show or?
We've had quite a few people from our school go on to the show and win.
Make it pretty far,
well.
yeah,
and win. So
really?
It's like Face Off like has had a lot of our students be there. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were like running a video. I guess it was like students who've gone on to do that.
Yeah, there's been quite
cool.
a few.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was quite an adventure going to that school, and I'm just happy that, we met each other. And
it's a different project every day. Like they push you to learn as much as you possibly can in the short amount of time you're there.
It's 16 months long.
Okay.
And so that means that 16 months, your life, you eat, sleep, and breathe special effects. Mm-hmm. That's all you do. I mean, if you want to succeed, like, that's what you have to do. You have to take advantage of, what's available while you have it.
Mm-hmm.
I did work and go to school at the same time, and that was hard.
And you commuted.
Yeah, and I didn't live in Menneson. I drove, like, half hour, 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm from Vermont, so I, I lived in Menneson because I couldn't commute.
Yeah. Right, and, what was I about to ask? Wow, I just blanked on the question I was about to ask.
That's the story of my life.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask also, did you actually, like, get to work with Tom Savini a lot, or was he just kind of like there in the background?
You don't really work with him very often.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't personally, because I had to go home for personal issues, but we did work on a film with him one time. Lindsey was there that day. I was not. But he doesn't have a very big presence. I guess he's busy or whatever, so he can't really come to the school a lot. So he's not like your teacher. Like, you don't have him there.
Yeah, he just kind of runs the program.
Right, but we have amazing instructors there, though. Like, there's some really great, talented people there that you're very happy to have.
Yeah. And then from there, what projects did you start getting on after you graduated?
You want to take this one first?
Yeah. The first couple projects that I had worked on out of school were theater. And I grew up a theater kid also. So being in that world was like...
It's okay.
Yeah, you know, I kind of knew the ropes a little bit. But then from there, I got a couple film jobs, and then it kind of snowballed, and I just love being on set. It's very different than backstage theater. Because, like, theater world, when you get there, you're running from the moment that it starts, from the moment that it ends. Like, constantly. Whereas film, it's like when you get there, you get everyone ready, and then you wait a little bit, and then you do touch-ups, or you get the next person to make up.
Yeah.
So it's more calm.
Yeah. I can understand that.
I agree. I think that they're both great. They're just, and you have to have the same skills, but it's different set etiquette. It's like different etiquette when you're there, but like it's the same concept when it comes to our art and craft, except film, I've learned this, you have to come back a little bit. Like, you can't just go full-blown crazy makeup. Whereas in theater, since you're so far away and the lighting is different, you need to make that makeup very extravagant. And almost up close, the makeup's too much. But from far away, it's what you need. Whereas film, you are right up and in there. So you need to have that flawless.
I mean, that's true for any type of theater. Like, even theater performances, they have to be more extravagant than on film. Like, because you're up there on a stage and... you know, the audience is a little bit further away. They have to kind of see you, what it is kind of almost being more melodramatic as opposed
exactly.
to...
Yeah, the acting is that way, and the set decorating is almost the same. Like, you can get away with almost a little bit more cartoon-like with theater, because you have to have this believability that you can do something, like, you know, lift or fly or do something, whereas film, you can make it seamless.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is really awesome, but I also really enjoy theater when you get to just do things on a whim and it's a little different.
So if you had your choice, what would you pick? Like, theater or film?
I couldn't.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I couldn't
I
pick.
guess they each have, like, their perks and their setbacks as well.
They do. I think I just have to be able to do both, or I'd go crazy.
That's true, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's... Which community do you think is more prominent in, like, Pittsburgh?
Film.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think that for people just starting out, I believe that film is more prominent. But I think when you actually get into the theater community, you'll realize it's really huge. Mm-hmm. Like, we have a ton of theaters downtown, and I worked with Pittsburgh Musical Theater a little bit, and just seeing that and going to a theater such as the Byam Theater, you realize that, like, this is a big deal here. And a lot of theater, though, is equity and union kind of stuff. Same with film, like, when you get up to a level, but we obviously all work in the indie film community, so we're a little bit different. Whereas there's a lot of community theaters, too, but they almost already are established.
Okay.
Whereas the indie film community is, like, vastly growing. Like, we are getting pretty big. Since I moved here about 1.5 years ago from a little town, and I knew a small community, and now the people that I know, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, definitely. The connections that you make, what would you say, how much of that networking has, like, landed you projects in the area? Like, if you could give a percentage, how much of that would you say?
99%.
Like 99%, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, because going back to, like, how when we first started, when I graduated college, I went back to Vermont, and I actually went to film school and theater school, and I pursued my education and was working more in theater, because in Vermont there's definitely more theater than film. There's not that much film. I worked at a very small our local Vermont PBS station. And that was I was a cameraman, and that was kind of my extent to film besides my own projects in Vermont. But I did a lot of theater. And then Lindsey actually was like, yo, I've been working at a lot of film, and if you want to, pursue this with me, you got to move to Pittsburgh. And I'm like, holy, what? You want me to move back to Pittsburgh? Okay. And I did. I uprooted everything, and I moved here, lived with Lindsey and her mom for a while, until I got on my feet, and I went on our first film set. My first film set in Pittsburgh was with Lindsey as her assistant. And then I started meeting people and kept, growing and growing. And now we rarely work together, which is super sad. And we need to start doing that more, because we both work separately, because there's, you work on something, somebody sees you, they like your work, and then they're like, hey, I'm working on something. And then it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah, it just kind of gets the ball rolling from there. That's great. I mean, it's from a camera perspective, or a camera crew perspective, that's kind of how I've done things as well. It's just kind of like I get on one project, and then somebody's just like, oh, hey, you do this, you want to do this for me as well.
Exactly.
It's
that's
like,
so it.
Yeah, so I understand. It's a great community, and it's always stuff popping up here and there.
And the great thing about it too that I really like is that everyone is very helpful of each other. It's like, hey, if you help me on this film, like, I'll work for you for the next one, whatever. Like,
yeah.
And everyone's very, like, uplifting. Like, they want, like, I want everyone to do great, and they, And,
yeah, and that's how, I forget what, when I did Hobo Hunters with Ian, he was like, yeah, if you do this for me, I'll help you out on your next project for free or whatever, which is really cool. That's just kind of like,
it's like an unwritten rule. Yeah. Like, it's a little, like, it's like our own little pact that we have for each other.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I have a perfect example of it. We just finished filming my film. I wrote it and I directed it and did all the costuming, and I put that damn thing together. And I just called out to all my best friends to join my team, and I had one hell of a crew, I have to tell you. Like, we were a dream team, and we did a pretty big production that was very heavy in the art department for obvious reasons. And we pulled off a crazy day in 14 hours.
Wow.
And, like, we built sets and put them up because it was Italian Renaissance themed.
Okay.
And we had to just dress this whole thing. And I had people from FOP, I had people from Locust Street, I had Lindsey, I had Kaylee, I had my team, I had all my people, and it was pretty incredible. Still in the editing room, but we're working on it.
Yeah,
that's not my strong point.
I understand. I've been there as well. With editing in particular, it's just kind of like, there's a lot of self-motivation that has to go on, and finding the time to
yeah, I mean, I'm just not like, I mean, I definitely learned editing and film school and stuff, but it's definitely, I am an art department person. That is like where my true self comes out. So I actually I have an editor, and I'm very happy to have her, because I'm so happy to not have to do it myself.
Yeah, so I completely understand that. Where do you see yourself going in maybe the next 5 years?
Ugh. Are we in an interview? Am I getting a job?
I don't know.
I hope pretty far.
No, it's cool.
I'm just curious. Everyone has their own goals on, like, what they want to do. So, I mean, some people, they just do it for the fun of it. Like, I just kind of do it for the fun of it. I don't really see myself. I don't know if I really see myself ever getting a full-time, like, job in the film industry. Like, I just kind of do it as a hobby, but I know other people, they plan to, they kind of set their timeline for where they want to go with it, and
Oh, I definitely have that too. I was just picking on you.
I
I definitely like, have ideas. You want to go or you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I think I'd definitely like to maybe be in the union by 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be really nice. Because I do want this to be my career. Like, I want to do makeup all the time. I always want to be on set. Like, I feel like that's where I'm, like, most alive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully, yeah, in the union in 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm not really sure if the union is for me, which is kind of funny that, you know, we have a little bit of opposite dreams. The union requires you to pick a field and to stick to that field. And as much as special effects is my passion, so is costume designing, and so is property designing, and so is set dressing. I like to do the collection of all of it. It's just something I get bored if I do one thing constantly, which is cool about special effects. It's never the same thing.
Yeah.
But I do get bored doing the same thing over and over. So that's why the art department world is really my thing. So I kind of, maybe in 5 years, see myself having a shop that is full of props.
I so see that happening.
And costumes.
Okay. Yeah.
And be the warehouse that people can come to get anything that they need.
All right, listen. This girl has rooms full of costumes, props, like anything you need, Shay has.
Oh, really?
It's true.
You just need a warehouse full of everything.
I do. I need a warehouse that's like split up to like a workshop area and already done things, so that if somebody needs something, they can just ask me and they can rent it from me or buy it from me or wherever their budget's at. We can you know.
Yeah, you could definitely make a career out of that. I mean, there's definitely a lot of need for that kind of stuff in the area.
I agree, and you know, I've worked for costume companies. Don't really want to mention which one, but I have worked for a costume company, and to see the way they did everything was pretty incredible. Like, we had a really huge rental department. And I ran that, and, you know, people would come in, you'd find things for them, and usually it was for, like, Halloween or, you know, obviously Halloween was the big season, but there was, you know, theater. My favorite was when theater groups would come in, and they're like, we want to dress this entire production, and I was like, oh, I'm your girl. Like, give me the sizes. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And we also had a retail side, and I was like, I could see myself running this shop. Like, I would really love for this to be mine. And then maybe, like, you know, 10, 15 years own my own theater, which is a big step. So I'm going to start with a little shop.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And, yeah, because I could definitely see that being a thing. I mean, most of the productions I've been on, it's a lot of, like, people try to do, like, DIY stuff most of the time.
And most people are not DIY people.
Yeah.
Whereas I am a DIY person. I am that person.
Yeah, there was an early project in particular I remember when I was just starting out in Pittsburgh we worked on, and the guy just had a lot of random junk in his apartment that he tried to, like, make it was a sci-fi movie.
Oh, which could go really bad really fast.
It was like near future or alternate future sci-fi where there's, like, androids and stuff, and so he was, like, trying to make these, like, fake, like, android props out of, like, mannequins and random other crap that he just found, and it's just like, I was just, like, looking at it like, oh, this is definitely looks low budget.
Yeah, I think, you know, Lindsey and I are pretty good at making, you know, that $20 look like, you know, $200.
Yeah.
You know, if you give us like $50 or $100, like, we can make it look pretty good. So
Yeah.
That's a skill too. Like, we've acquired it over time.
Yeah, you gotta find things. Like, you gotta know where to find things. You know, and that's why Joanne Fabrics is perfect. You know, for me, because it's full of all these crafty things that I literally see every day, and I'm like, you know what I could use that for? I know this is what they want you to use it for, but this is what I'd use it for.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, and I have most of it now.
Yeah.
I have about 3 rooms. 3 rooms
Wow.
full. One is all
That's
just
crazy.
craft stuff to still be made into things. I have one that is just stuff that is already made and ready to go, and then one that's a mix. And that's my one back in Vermont that still has things that I'm like, oh, what do I have still?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know who to go to now.
Yes,
so.
you do. I've got the stock.
And how long did it take you to like acquire all of that? Like, I'm assuming
years.
You've had
6
that
months.
for
No.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No,
like, I'm assuming since you started doing this, or
I actually have been collecting. I have things that I've had since I was about 8 years old.
yeah.
So, like I said, crafting has been my passion my entire life. And I got into theater when I was about 9. So I started, working on theater at a very young age. And they'd be like, oh, does somebody have this at home? Because when you're in elementary school and you do theater, you make a list and you're like, all right, everybody, bring the things in that you have. And that's what we'll do. And I started realizing, ooh, Mom, I'd really love to, like, bring things in. And so we would start to either make them or start finding them at thrift stores. And I know this is similar to your story because your mom did props, too. And, she started making my own costumes because I started liking things like that. And, we just started doing it ourselves. And so we just started collecting. And, like I said, I've had things almost my whole life. Like, I can't even remember my life without it. And then I've had things that I bought last week at the thrift store.
Yeah. So this runs in your family for both of you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, my mama was a theater person. My dad's family, actually, his brother is a music teacher and a theater teacher. It's definitely, like, the arts. My brothers are musicians along with me.
Yeah.
My grandmother is an illustrator. My mom's a cake decorator. It just kind of, like...
Yeah, it just runs in your family.
Arts is just our thing.
My story is a little different. My mom has always been crafty. Like, she's
smart.
She can make anything. And back when I grew up a theater kid, I did the whole acting, singing, dancing thing.
Yeah.
On the stage, and my brother ran the sound, and my mom made props. And then I decided, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be on the creative side.
Want to be
behind the curtain,
scenes. Yeah. That moment you realize that you're a behind the scenes person, you're like, ooh.
But other than that, the rest of my family's pretty not creative. Doctors or accountants,
Yeah. I have a very my family's always been kind of more practical, so I understand that. Like I grew up on a farm. So my dad was always like a farmer, and he always wanted to get me into that. And I was just like, no, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Which is why
I don't want to shovel poop things.
Yeah.
That's the real story.
I'm gonna move to the city and do what I want to do. And so I understand that. My mom, she's a bit of an artist. Like she does painting and stuff. And my grandmother or great grandmother, I forget who it was. She did a lot of paintings as well. So it runs in the family, but it's not like. It kind of skips a generation or two. But
okay.
I understand that, it was always my dislike for, what my family was into that kind of got me into what I like. I was like, I don't want to do what you guys do. I kind of want to do my own thing.
Right.
So.
I feel like I'm the black sheep of the family, so that kind of makes sense what you're saying.
Not. But I don't know. Like, I think... Yeah, my family, I like that we all... I guess there are the ones that are like... My dad's a factory worker. Mm-hmm. So, like, he... there are the ones in our family that don't really do the arts, but it's... I think it's just like our soul. Like, we're just like those crafty people. Like, you can't... I guess I shouldn't say my dad's not artistic, because that man can fix anything. Like, I've seen him fix things throughout the house with just, like, whatever he finds, and I'm pretty impressed. Like, he's taught me how to, like, make things work.
With your car, for example.
Like, my dad can fix anything. So I guess that's pretty, like, where my special effects comes from. Like,
okay.
He'd be like, oh, this is broken? I know how we can fix this.
We can use this instead.
Yeah, and that was pretty cool.
That's kind of like the opposite for me. It's like, if I need something done... Like, my dad and my brother are both really handy, and I'm not. So, like, if I need something like that done, I go to them. I'm like, I don't know anything about this, and so
I still run to my dad.
Yeah.
Like, my brake pads went on my car this past week, and I was like, oh my god, Dad, my car's making this sound. Like, I don't know what's going on. And over, like, a text message, he was just like, your brake pads need to be replaced. you might be down to the rotors, so you might need those replaced too. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
And he was right. He was right. Everything that it was.
That same thing happened to me, and my dad was just like, yeah, that's your brake pads and probably your rotors too. And I had to get all that replaced. And I was like, well, I'm glad you knew this stuff and not because I don't.
Yeah. I knew that my car was making a roar sound. That was not good.
That's when you like turn up the volume. You're like, I'll deal with it later.
Yeah, that meme that's like when you actually turn the radio off and you hear all the problems with your car.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Why? Oh, that's why the check engine light was on.
Yeah. So, what would you, like, I know you guys kind of focus on a lot of things in special effects. What would you say is, like, your strongest area? Like, do you have something that, of all, you know, everything that's incorporated, because I know special effects, makeup, you know, dress, it incorporates a lot. What would you say is, like, the thing that you do the best?
Well,
or maybe you're just good at everything.
No, that's not true. I think when something like this is kind of like a kind of into it. Anytime there's a lot of blood on set, I'm really happy. Which is really a psycho thing to say, but it's the truth. Like when somebody's like, I want you to slash open this person's stomach and be able to rip out their intestines and have it plop on the floor, and there's just going to be puddles and pools of blood everywhere. I'm like, all right, I'm going to figure this out. And just like thinking like, how is this going to work with the camera and the angles and making this look real and all of these things. And also, mind you, on $100, those right. You know, that's another thing. If you want to offer me $1,000, I can make something very beautiful and it'll have pumps and it'll be, you can take after take after take. But, you know, we're usually offered a minimum amount, and, you know, to be able to take that money and take the supplies that you have and create something incredible, and it actually works, is my favorite thing in the world. Yeah. Literally, there's no greater feeling than like I'm baby.
Oh, when you stole my answer.
I'm sorry. It's dead. It's, you know, everybody's dead silent, and we have this one take wonder that we have to do, and it's 48 hour, which is, you know, everybody's tension is like pumping. And, you know, we have to figure out how to rip out a fetus out of somebody's body that a monster has to do in very minimal amounts of time, and it's just dead silent, and all of a sudden this happens, and it's like, okay, cut, and everybody's like, oh my god,
that was so gross, and I'm like, yes.
And honestly, I don't even remember what happened because it was just so quiet, because we're both just like, oh my god. And it's like an incredible feeling.
Yeah, I remember how, sorry, not to cut you off, but real quick, I remember how to or how the day that we worked together on Remnants, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
And how excited you were just to work with like the blood and the blood effects.
You were on the bloody day, one of the bloody days. Yeah. Every time there's blood, like I just have a permagran on my face, and people are like, "You're so happy," and I'm like, "I know, I'm getting bloody today."
Yeah, because I remember your hands were like all red, and you were just like super excited.
I get excited, like the stickiness, and like it's a great feeling.
Yeah. All right. So, what about you, Lindsay?
Sorry, I stole it. I know you'll have a million more.
I know. I love the whole, like, creating something from scratch. I mean, that's kind of like what you said, but, like, the baby, for instance, the little fetus that we made, from seeing it as the skeleton, which was shower hooks that you hang your curtains on.
Yeah.
And a piece of wire for the spine, and then latex. Wow. And we, like, made this thing out of, like, those, like, simple objects, but it looks so real and so cool, and I'm like, that is awesome.
Yeah, that we actually, I'll let you finish this story, but we actually loved that baby so much that maybe we kind of wanted to keep it a little too long. And go ahead, and Lindsay, tell the story of what happened to this baby.
I gotta tell you the whole story real quick. I'll be short because, you know, but
I mean, we have time.
So for that film, we had made intestines, and we had made the fetus.
Okay.
And when we put it inside, should I not say all of our tricks to the trade?
I mean, don't tell your secrets, but I mean.
But basically, we put it in the belly with Caro blood and egg whites.
Yeah, egg whites, because we had to have amniotic fluid. People.
Right.
Okay.
So once everything was said and done, everyone's like, it's 48 hours, so like we're wrapped. Okay, you know, people who need to go edit. People who need to go eat some dinner, go do that. If you want to sleep, you know. So we're hurrying cleanup, and I shoved the intestines back into my paint can bucket that had my blood. Okay. Put the lid on, throw it in the car. You know, I take the baby and I put it in. I think it was an empty box, and I put it in my car. And then I had gone home, and I had gone into my house and went to bed. And I forgot it in the car, and it was hot the next morning, so that I brought everything in, but I again forgot about it because I space out sometimes. But I had put the paint can in my kitchen. Forgot about it for a couple more days. Now they were the intestines were made from pig intestines.
Yeah, they were real.
So that's real. So now that's decaying inside this paint can.
Oh.
So I'm at work. My mom's at home, and she hears what sounds like a gunshot. The lid flew from everything decomposing and the gases. The lid shot up. Blood flew on the wall. Like
intestines just streaking
the lid shot down the basement stairs and ended up in the basement. And she had to clean it up while I was at work. I felt so bad. But I was like, lesson learned. You never leave stuff in a sealed container.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But the baby ended up getting moldy. And like, I couldn't save it. And because I wanted to put it in a jar and like put
have
resin
like a floating
in the jar, so
baby.
It looked like a baby
like
in a jar.
I mean,
is that
something
weird?
you'd see in like a creepy science
I mean,
lab
it's a little weird, but
yeah,
that's what we do.
So lesson learned next time.
Yeah, you can't
Don't
keep
leave egg
them.
whites on your baby.
Clean that off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any projects you want to promote? Anything you've been working on recently?
I guess it's just really for me is Vengeance, my production that, you know, we filmed last month. And so I guess I'm not that I really need to, you know, promote it or whatever, but that's, you know, my upcoming thing. Like, you know, when you're directing something and it's your baby, it really turns into your life. And I'm actually starting editing this week, and I just got my portable hard drive so I can pick up all my footage on Wednesday. So, like, really good things are happening this week for it, and I hope it'll be ready for film festivals that are coming up so that Pittsburgh can see, you know, a different type of film, because I haven't seen anything that's very heavy. You know, you even said that, like, you know, the special effects and the art department sometimes take fault. Like, they don't get to take the back burner, really. They don't get to come out and show a lot. And this production, the things we did is incredible. We built a canopy bed. And actually, Chauncey James, he's incredible.
Oh, Chauncey,
sound. I decorated it and he built it. He's like, I'll make it functional if you can make it pretty. And I was like, you got it. And we made this really beautiful canopy bed.
It looks so real.
It looks so real.
You never know. It's like wood.
Wooden air mattresses. Like, that's what it was. And so I'm just really excited for Pittsburgh to see, like, a new style. And it's also, you know, it's my director's debut here to kind of push and see, you know, what we're capable of.
What is it about? Can you, like, give anything away about the plot?
Yeah, it's about a royal family, and it's a servant who finally gets her revenge on this nasty royal family, and it's very female dominated. It's actually about the princess and the queen and how nasty they are to this female servant, and she snaps and she takes a little revenge. So I'm not going to tell you what the revenge is, but it's not quite probably what you think it is, and it's really fun. And Lindsey did all the special effects in it, cool. So it's gonna.
Is this like a period piece?
It is.
Okay.
Period piece, like, historical fiction is my thing.
Okay.
Like, anything, you know, I love Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I really kind of say this film is, if you've ever seen the movie Ever After with Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, I know.
It's an Italian Renaissance. Like, if that movie and Game of Thrones kind of, like, had a baby, it would be Vengeance. Because there's some gruesome stuff in it, but it's also a little whimsical. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm all about those time period pieces.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I feel like period pieces are a lot harder to produce. Like, it's just because there's so much that you pretty much have to, from the ground up, create your environment, like, in every aspect of what's going on in front of the camera, because you can't, it's not like you can just go out on the street and just shoot the surroundings with a period piece.
Yeah, and that's where I have to like give a shout out to Lance Parkins. He actually was our watcher for like outlets, pipes, wires, things that were in there, like in the shot that you like know,
those little things.
He was like sitting there. Oh, I see something.
So he
because,
was like kind of like the line producer for it to watch out for that stuff.
I mean, that would throw you right out. Like you see an outlet and you're like, damn it, they don't have electricity. And
is that a router over there?
Yeah, what is that? And I think, yes, that is the truth. Like, the pre-production for a time period piece is pretty intense. But I guess, like, that's where I come in. Like, that's why you hire people like myself and Lindsey and people who create, because we enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed every moment of pre-production. Now, I'm not saying I enjoyed the 3 days prior when I was like, okay, crunch time. Let's get, like, 100 hours worth of work.
And right in the middle of it, her sewing machine broke.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
I was trying to make a corset, actually, the Queen's corset that she ends up wearing, because I just friggin' hot glued the thing.
Yeah.
Because my sewing machine was like, don't you put that in me. And it did not like it. And so I spent, like, a day trying to fix my machine, which I did. And so this was like the few days before, you're just like, oh my God, like, am I going to really direct this thing on Saturday or what? But then, you know, the day happens and it all just like goes up and you're just like, oh man, this is worth it. Like this was all worth all of that. And, you know, I enjoy the man hours that go behind producing something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and if you have my kind of stock of stuff, you know, I actually didn't have to buy that much. I did have to buy a lot of fabric. That's, you know, a lot of drapery for that bed. Like, we used, like, 2 garbage bags just full of sheer fabric on that bed alone. But really, I had a lot of the stuff.
Can you say, like, where exactly did you shoot it at? I'm just curious, like, considering it's a period piece. Like,
we shot it in a church, which is now turned into a ad agency. It's This Is Red.
Oh, okay.
You know, familiar in Munhall? It's a
pretty cool
like
building.
It's in Homestead, like it's Munhall, but it's in Homestead and it's across the street from the Dollar Tree.
I'll have to check that out sometime.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful location, and I actually stumbled upon it because another film I worked on last year was filmed there, Greek Goddess.
Okay.
And so I went there to film this production, and I was like, man, this place is beautiful. Like, this is incredible. And then I wrote this production, and I was like, you know what would be perfect? That location. And so I contacted them, and they're wonderful. They're wonderful to work with. They're very open to allowing people to be in there. Everybody I worked with was so pleasant. And yeah, it was, and everybody who walked in, all the film people, our crew was like, whoa, this is awesome. There was like balconies, like some of our pictures are pretty cool because they were taken from such a high place. Like the ceilings were massive.
Oh yeah.
And there was this beautiful hallway, and it was pretty perfect.
That's awesome. Have they shot stuff there before? Have other crews gone in there before? Like,
I think other than the one I worked with, like the 2 and ours, like I'm not sure if other ones have, but I know.
Okay. I wasn't sure if maybe because, you know, they seem so open to it, maybe they're used to people asking about it.
Well, they do some film stuff themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
And they also the guy who owns the place is a musician, and they hold concerts in there. Like, people rent this location a lot. Like, I think they said they did a couple parties there. Like, I don't know if it was wedding receptions or it was just like, you know, retirement or something, like very big parties. Cool. Like, it's a location that people are open to rent.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So, and it was reasonably priced, and, you know, it was pretty good.
Cool. Very cool. What about you, Lindsey? Are you anything you want to talk about, promote?
Promote. Can I promote myself?
Sure.
Hire me.
You want special effects? Well, yeah, you hire these girls right here.
Yeah.
Promoting? Yeah, I don't know. I think right now I don't really have much booked, you know, for the rest of like the month or next month. So I think I'm going to take that time to like start my own project just for like myself.
Yeah.
When I was in art school, you know, makeup school, we had to make a prop for our final semester, and I had made a life-size Jumanji game board with
That's
the pieces
awesome.
and everything.
It was incredible. This thing was wood.
I hand carved the entire top of it, and before that, previously, I'd never done wood carving. And it turned out, like, pretty good. Like, I stained it, and, like, I had the insides, like, I painted the whole game board, and...
Made the little pieces.
Yeah, and it turned out pretty good, but I want to make it better. Like, I want to make the inside a projector and have all the magnetic pieces so they move on their own, like the movie.
Like in the movie. That's
so
awesome.
I've been talking about remaking it for, like, a couple months now, and I'm like, maybe I should just do that. And then, like, I looked it up online. People sell them for, like, thousands of dollars. I'm like, wow, I made that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not saying I'm doing it for the money, but, like, I want to make it something cool, so...
Yeah.
Like life size. When you say life size, how big are you talking?
Well,
You know,
when
like
I
the
did
game.
my research on it originally, they had 4 game boards for the movie.
Okay.
They had one that was completely solid that didn't open, one that was just like mechanical, and then they had another one that was thinner, and then they had the like the real one with everything, which is actually much thicker.
Okay.
So whenever I had finished it and I was looking at it, I'm like, this looks pretty thick, but it opens up and there's drawers in it. And, like, you don't see that, like, how thick it would be. Am I making any sense? Like,
yeah,
on
no,
movie?
you mean, like, this is, like, the real version.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Like, this is not, you don't really get to see that in the movie? Is that what you mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like
okay.
one that's, like, what all 4 of those other pieces, like, are into one.
Yeah, if you
like,
combine those all together, this is what it would actually
This is what
look
it's
like.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the old school one, not the,
I always wanted to get, like, a Jumanji.
new one.
Yeah.
The
like,
video game one. I couldn't
yeah,
think of the name of it.
I didn't watch the new
Video
one.
game.
I heard it was alright, but...
It was alright. I mean, it was funny, and, and I liked it, but, I guess you have to make a different twist so you're not watching the same movie over again.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
I think it's almost like it was different enough to where you can compare them. You can't really compare them, but you can, like, talk about the differences and stuff like that, but you can't be like, oh, that one's shit because it's new, or be like, oh, that one's shit because it's old.
Yeah.
Like, they're both great,
Yeah, they both have their own thing to them.
Exactly.
So, that's cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to own, like, when I first saw Jumanji, like, the first one, I always wanted to have, like, that game board.
Oh, me too.
Like, I was
Except
like,
not
oh,
the
it's so
spiders.
cool, I want it. And, like, I knew they sold ones in the stores, but they weren't, like, they were, like, cheap, like, they looked like a Monopoly, a
Right.
cheap Monopoly set or something like
Yeah.
they didn't look like the one in the movie, and I was just, like,
Right,
always
they-
bummed out by it.
They didn't even try to, like, make it wooden or anything.
No.
They're just, like, throw it in a cardboard box. You're like, come on, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I want
like
to
the
open
real
it.
pieces.
And I want to,
I
like,
wanna,
Yeah.
even if it's just magnetic and you move it or whatever, but, like, I want the box.
exactly. Make it look
I mean,
legit.
not yours. Yours
But
is going to be legit.
In
Yeah.
order for me to do that, I have to, like, I don't really know that much about magnets and, like, you have to hook it up to, like, a circuit board, you know what I mean, and have it be, like, an
That's
animatronic.
right.
And that's one thing that I'm not very strong at, and I want to get better.
So,
Go to
yeah,
Chauncey.
So,
like program it to, like, basically have the magnets move on their own. Is
Yeah.
yeah.
because I also want to put, like, a mini projector in there, and, like, maybe, like,
Make
a-
it so that it can,
for like the center part where it,
Yeah.
like, shows you, like, whatever the riddle or whatever it was that they showed. Yeah.
I'm gonna have
You
to
almost need, like,
miniaturize all of those things.
You're going to need, like, an
Yeah.
8-ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a little board. Yeah.
Try again.
That'd be perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's cool to work on your own thing. Like, if you don't have anything, like, when I have downtime, I always work on, like, I mean, this podcast is a product of downtime. And the gaming stuff I've been working on, that's also a product of downtime. It's just like, well, I play a lot of games, and I just want to, like, be able to record that stuff and throw it online. And
Do
stuff
it.
like that.
You're being productive with it.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Like,
Yeah.
there are so many streamers for
Yeah.
gaming. Like,
People
it's
learn
insane.
from that. Like, they learn how to beat the game, or, like, they watch because you're funny, or, like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
You know.
entertainment to them. It's like watching a TV show or something.
Yeah.
I've never been good at games ever, but I used to watch gaming videos on YouTube a couple years ago. Like, do you know who Toby Turner is?
No, I'm not
Oh, there was
familiar
a
with
big
them.
scandal on him. He's a YouTuber. But he used to play Dead Space.
Okay.
And his commentary was so fun. I'd be laughing out loud by myself. People are like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, this guy is so funny. He's like, no, I'm dying.
Yeah, that's how I got into it. There was this there's this game called Surgeon Simulator, and it's the most, despite being called Surgeon Simulator, it's the most unrealistic surgeon game you'd ever play, where it's super ridiculous. And it's just like, do a heart transplant, and you're just like hammering at the rib cage to like rip stuff out, and like just pulling a heart out and throwing in another heart. And it's like, you get like achievements for like getting like I forget what one of the achievements was. Like, any of you Doctor Who fans?
Not like a huge fan, but like I've
there was like an achievement if you get both hearts in at the same time, you get like a Doctor Who achievement or something like that.
Cool.
And like it was stupid stuff like that, but it was, these guys who were super funny were like doing the videos, and like one would control one hand and the other one would control the other hand or something like that, and like they were just really bad at it, and it was just super funny, and like that's how I got into that. So.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's just like, that if you have downtime, it's just fun to work on stuff like that.
I think sometimes you need it too. Like, I think when you spend, say like 6 months in a row, or even like 9 months in a row of just like constantly going like project after project after project. And again, Lindsey and I are people who have pre-production. A lot of people in the film community show up on set and they do their film business and they leave, but there's also, our field is one of the ones that has all those pre-production things you have to do. So, okay, we 2 days a month of filming turns into an entire month of pre-productions, because we have to sometimes do live casts, and then we have to sculpt, and then we have to mold, and then we have to run, and we have to do all these things, and those things take time. So one film can turn into or 2 films can turn into a month or 2 project for us. So we can go for like 9 months straight, which I think I might be doing right now. And I'm coming to also a slow moment where I'm excited to just start creating for the sake of creating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think people realize from the way it sounds that there's a lot, when you're in the effects departments, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that they're not aware of.
Oh, yeah.
You have to worry about safety.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, you see on those Facebook videos that pop up, these girls who were doing these tin can eye makeups.
Well, that's freaking
for
stupid.
Halloween, or they put scissors, and it's like, you can't use that on film. Like, if the actor were to trip and fall and that can were to go into their face, you would be, I imagine, arrested. Like, you would lose your job. You would never be able to work again.
You'd be blacklisted.
So, like, you have to think, if I'm going to make this effect, I have to make sure that it's safe for the actor. And how am I going to make this so it doesn't look fake, that it looks real, But
Absolutely. It's safe. Yeah, that's something we have to live with every day. And, like, also people have allergies, Latex allergies are a thing. And cheap special effects, hello, latex. Like, that is your best friend. But then if somebody's like, I'm allergic to latex, and you can be like, well, you're not going to be a zombie today. You're going to just have some blood on you, because, I mean, there are, silicone, and there is gelatin, and there are things, but it all depends on the circumstance of how close you're going. Is there going to be a microwave to melt my gelatin?
You're going to have electricity. You're going to have a hairdryer.
Am I even going to have a seat? Like, am I going to be doing makeup on the back of my car? Like, how am I going to be doing this? Remnants. I did my makeup out of the back of the car the whole freaking time. Yeah. 'Cause it was all outside, so.
Yeah.
It's,
I don't think people take into consideration the kind of things that you have to consider and how much work you have to put into it. And
I just worked on a music video this Friday and Saturday this weekend, and preparing for that was 5 days of preparing
and running
for this
around.
One big effect. It's because, like, you only have, like, a couple shots to get it,
Right, you can only clean up so much blood before things start staining.
So you gotta make sure you get it right on, like, the second try. Mm-hmm. And it has to look good. So I prepared for that. I was doing test runs, and Shay helped me out. And so for a blood pump, I was having a hard time thinking about what I was going to use for this, because you can use an air compressor, you can use like a pump to blow up a beach ball, whatever. But I wanted something that's going to continually run. So I bought a Chinese waterfall thing that you like plug into your outlet and you put it in your living room for like tranquility.
Yeah.
Okay, so I tore that apart and I took out the motor and I submerged it in a bucket of blood, added tubing, and it worked. And I was like, this is perfect.
Tranquility.
Because originally
that's our version of tranquility. We're like, oh yeah.
But I was originally thinking bigger, on a bigger scheme, like a pool pump. And then I'm like, you can't get those are expensive. I can't use that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, chocolate fountain. Okay, those are also expensive, and that might be too much, like too fast. Think to a smaller scale, and I'm like, Chinese waterfall, those things, they sell them everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it worked. Right. But you would never know that behind that blood effect, it was the insides of a waterfall.
It was pretty cool. Like, I was really excited. It was really fun, like, seeing how, like, when she busted out that pump, I was like, this is cool. Like, this is something really neat. Like, I was excited about it.
Yeah. Now everyone knows my secrets.
Not all of them. There's still so much that goes involved with that. They don't even know.
Trade secrets.
The man hours behind that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Like I mentioned before, you know, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, so there's no way they're going to be able to replicate that, I'm assuming.
No.
Unless they really know what they're doing.
Right, then they might be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Special effects is a pretty incredible thing, though. Like, yes, there are a lot of man hours behind it, and just, like, loss of sleep, and how the hell am I going to make this thing that's supposed to set up in 24 hours set up in 12? How many fans can I put on this thing to try it, you know? But it's worth it in the end. Like, when you see that finished product and everybody's just like, holy shit, that's really cool, and you're like, thank you. Like, it feels really good to, like, put it into something. You know, I always say that art is my therapy. Like, it truly is. Like, don't bother yourself with all the horrid things that are in the world and things, and just put good into the world. And my good is blood and guts, but my good is, you know, art and special effects.
Yeah.
I always try and, you know, hey, if I'm going through a hard time and I'm really sad, make a painting. Like, take that, like, sadness and emotion and make it into something cool.
Oh, yeah. I do the same thing when I'm really down. I'll put it into writing. I like to write when I'm not feeling, you know, when I want to express emotions, you know, in some format, I'll put it onto a page. That's my way of kind of
it's so much better. It's to just put it out there in a productive manner instead of being like, my life sucks. Me. Like, be like, you know what?
You're doing it in a more destructive way, like, say, I don't know, drinking or something, you know.
Right.
You know, it's a easier, more, you know, a safer, more productive way to kind of do it.
I agree. That's literally my life.
Yeah. So, do you... I always wanted to ask, have you ever done any projects outside of, like, film and theater that involve special effects? Is there such a market for that? Okay, photography.
Photography's one. Live, not like theater live events, but also like live entertainment in parties.
Okay.
Like themed parties.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked for a couple themed parties.
Absolutely.
We've done like Western themes, and I've run like the costume department of the photo booth. Like, I have all my things, and so I bring them, and then, you know, I get paid to just assist these people with dressing, and they even have a different photographer, and I just put clothes on them, and they take some pictures, and
that's cool. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess not special effects for that respect, but there's also, you know, music. I guess music videos are also the same, but I think just music is a other form of art that also special effects is involved in.
Yeah,
even body like painting too. That's
body painting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, since I try to talk about like a general like media, or, you know, incorporating, you know, different form. Incorporating not just film and all that stuff that's, you know, usually, but you know, talking about like it. So that's why I like to ask, you know, if you ever work on things outside of that.
Well,
sort of.
Yeah, I think what's really awesome about special effects in general is there's such a wide range of stuff you can do. You can do props. You can do effects, blood effects. You can be a mold maker.
Squibs.
You can be a sculptor. You could work in a medical lab and make prosthetics for people who don't have like limbs or
or
ears
dentures
or something
like you did.
that. I worked in a dental lab for almost a year and a half actually.
Oh wow.
And I was making teeth, and I had the dirtiest job in the whole place, but you know what? I loved it.
Yeah.
I was working with plaster, and so, like, when you go to the dentist and you bite down on that gooey stuff,
Ugh.
they mail that. They would mail it to the lab. They would give it to me, and I would make a positive copy of your teeth from the negative mold, and then someone would make your crown or your implant or denture.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
like
cool.
special effects is definitely used in the, medical world. Also like, oculars, like people have false eyes,
Yeah.
It's somebody who does
Absolutely.
special effects that makes those kind of things. Or starts that way or something like that. And yeah, I definitely think, we didn't even mention Halloween.
There's
Like,
people who make puppets for a living.
yeah.
Like, that's kind of cool. I don't know if I would do that, but...
Yeah.
One of the
There's so
colleges
many
back in my
different things.
hometown, there's an entire program dedicated to making puppets. So
Wow.
it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like puppets you would use in like some sort of stage performance, or
I guess, or like at the
People make
Renaissance
marionettes.
Festival. Renaissance Festival. There's a puppet. Isn't there a puppet show at this one, or is that?
No,
maybe-
yeah, and the one here.
I
in
thought so
Pittsburgh.
because I thought the one I went to here. There's a puppet show right there at the Renaissance
Oh,
Festival.
okay. I don't think I've ever been to that one. There's
Oh,
that
it's
one.
awesome.
Isn't there that one, and then there's one in like outside of the city?
Well, that's the
Yeah.
one.
Oh, that's the one.
That's considered the Pittsburgh Renaissance
Oh,
Festival, but
okay.
it's actually
it's in West Newton.
West Newton.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
out by-
actually worked there.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I got to dress up for work every day. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
But I was standing for forever. But you know what? I wore a corset, so my back was super straight. So, like, I wasn't in that much pain.
Oh,
That much pain.
probably
But it was
probably
fun.
helps with your posture too.
Yeah, like
makes
keeps you
sense.
standing up so like your back doesn't hurt. Because I'm a sloucher. I know I'm
Me
gonna have a
too.
humpback one day. Like I'm gonna be
Don't
one of
say
those old
that.
ladies.
You're gonna be like
Watch
the
out.
So I am.
the
I
old
can't.
lady with like the yeah.
I'm like,
hump.
are you looking at the ground? I'm not.
It would be like almost folding in half at that point. You're like,
No, you won't. I will make you. I will put a corset on you. Granny corset.
I'm old AF.
So how can we, as a community, how can we get in touch with you or look at your work or follow you?
I have a
pretty much?
website.
Cool. And what is that?
It's actually just my name.com. So it's actually just chanelfrancis.com. And it's connected to my Instagram, which is kind of like more of my main thing because I think with special effects, visuals are a number one to like see what you're working on. So the majority of my portfolio is on Instagram, which is also tied to my website, which also has all of my contact information. And it's actually done really well. People seem to reach out to me on there and stuff, and that's probably the best place. Instagram or website.
Cool.
I would also say Instagram. I love Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the best for
my
us to do
website's
this.
under construction.
Yeah. No, I know that. I haven't updated my website in my personal website. I haven't updated in 2 or 3 years, so it's a lot of stuff's outdated.
Oh, wow.
Same.
Mine's like maybe like 2 months.
Okay.
Just the hard part is like with film. Sometimes the productions, I want to post all these wonderful photos of
but you
behind
can't.
behind the scenes, but I can't yet
Because it's not released.
because most of them are not released yet.
Yeah.
There's so many you've worked on that you just never really see come, or you have to wait like a year for them to come out.
Oh, I
Or
know.
we're over a year now for one of our films. So I took some great pictures.
The first film I
am
worked
no
on here.
photographer, but I do like to take cool pictures. I got some really sweet pictures, but I can't post them because
Yeah, I know that far too well. I'm still waiting to. Well, the one thing, get permission, and the second thing is to actually get the person to send me the footage is like pulling teeth. So I know that far too well.
I know there's a lot of times I would love to have some of the special effects, footage, so I could possibly make a reel.
Yeah.
I'd really like to do that. But to track down all of that, and you're not going to just take the one from the actual, production and without permission and just, botch it out and be like, I'm going to take this even though I didn't edit this and things,
that's the hard part.
You need to go through all these, like, different, hoops to actually get that. But I think that'd be really cool to, probably should work on that.
Yeah.
Getting a reel of some sort. Because we've got a ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I have for cinematography is I have a reel, like, right on the front page of my website. But like I said, it's outdated. Like, it's 2 or 3 years old at this point.
Right,
so.
And you need to, like, have your fresh, and which basically that's what vengeance is for me. It's like, so you want to see what I'm capable of doing? Okay, here's my movie.
There you go.
This is basically what I got inside me.
You don't have to, like, carry around a folder of like a manila folder of stuff. You have, like, a website. You can just be like, here it is.
Exactly. We have these huge portfollios that were given to us in school. Things are massive. I can't imagine carrying that around and being like, you want to see these 8x10s? Or were they 11, like 8.5 by 11s?
They were giant pictures. Like, they were like this big.
Like, you just can't do that, which is why Instagram is another perfect thing. So you open that up and you're like, oh, you want to see all my work? Just go scroll through my Instagram.
People complain about, how social media can be toxic at in certain aspects, but in people don't understand that social media can also be a blessing, depending on how you're using it. It's
so true. Like, I mean, a lot of the time I tell people, like, I probably wouldn't have social media if I was not in film or theater and in this industry, or even have my family. My family's really far away, so I enjoy seeing all of their stuff and keeping in touch with people from back home. But I think if it wasn't for special effects and what I do, I probably wouldn't have it because of all the negativity on there. But being in film, I have all these film friends on there, and I love seeing all their stuff. Like, I pretty much give hearts to everybody's film stuff because I love it. And, like, I'm just like, yeah, you had a good day. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that blood.
Like, I follow you guys on
I follow you and I follow you,
Yeah, I love seeing, what you guys post up and whatever you're working on. And I follow everyone else in the community that I've worked with in the past. And
me too. I love seeing the shit everybody's working on. I'm like, that's the good stuff. Like, to see what everybody's working on.
Still working, still growing as an artist or as a,
I think
director.
Yeah, I think us here, like, in Pittsburgh, we're going to grow. Like, we're going to keep getting bigger and bigger. Like, we have this really great community of people who are creating here, and I don't think it's stopping. Like, I think it's going to continue.
Oh, yeah, the indie community is definitely growing. I know, the bigger budget community, I know, has always been kind of struggling because of tax issues and things, tax credit issues and stuff, union stuff. But, there's always stuff to do in, like, the indie, the lower budget community, pretty much.
And I don't think that it's always going to stay lower budget either. I think that, we even have a couple, Lindsey and I worked on one too, Theo and the Professor, that's on Amazon Prime. And there are many series and movies and productions that have happened right here by our friends that are on these platforms. And I think, eventually we're going to get to the level where Netflix is going to want us. I mean, The Outsiders was here. Like, that was a big deal, and I think eventually, I know that was union, but eventually, Netflix and Hulu are going to reach out to us and be like, you guys as a crew should be making these things, and eventually they're going to fund us if we keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be the case.
I mean, that's what we all have to work for, right?
Yeah, it's a dream.
We can't just sit here and not work for that.
Yo, Netflix, if you're listening,
hire us. Anybody from Netflix.
I don't know I have that much of an audience, but,
no, it's cool. You never know who's tuning in.
That's true.
The government listens.
Well, that is also true. I mean, I'm sure Mark Zuckerberg's listening in on this, maybe.
He traded our faces, apparently.
There's a whole thing.
I don't know. I saw something about that, but I was like, fuck that. I'm not getting involved in that.
I just, between that and then the people questioning him, how they don't understand how technology works, it just frustrates me to no end. But that's a whole different thing.
Right. That's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole,
That's a whole other deal.
So, all right. Well, it was great to have you guys on. It's great to be able to talk about effects, because I know the last couple podcasts I've done have been more of like, well, it was a lot of people that were on Body Farm, so it was nice to actually to kind of step away from that, because I feel like I'm beating body farm with a dead horse at this point.
Right. Get
Everyone's
some fresh
heard about it. So
fresh voices in here.
Yeah. Listen to some fresh projects you guys are working on and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
it's great.
Well, thank you for having us on here.
It's been fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, you know, I was kind of sad when we weren't going to be on this together, and she was like, I'm doing it on Sunday, and I was like, oh, hell no, I'm getting on there with you.
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys were able to coordinate. I just figured, you know, I was like, oh, maybe they can't do it together. I was like, maybe I can just do them individually or something like that.
No, we need to spitball off each other. That's what we need. Like, we're good at this
I'm
together.
glad that worked out, that you guys were able to come together. So
Me
Perfect.
too.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.